Hey, this is Cleveland Robinson, your real soul ambassador, bringing you real therapy. I want to give you guys a story today about one of my clients who's 6 years old, who had ADHD, and some of the things that work for him and his family, and hopefully they'll work for you. This young man was 6 years old, very energetic, very intelligent, but very impulsive, was a little angry at times, more than what was age appropriate. And so a lot of times as a therapist, when we are working with clients who have ADHD, we have to do a lot of psychoeducation and empowerment to the parents to help them understand what are symptoms of ADHD or what are age appropriate actions that the child is having. We expect this 6-year-old to have some issues with impulsiveness. Some of you watching this video are curious if your child has ADHD, so they may be 5 years old, and you're concerned about their impulsiveness. So understand this, that there are specific symptoms that you want to pay attention to that may say, I need to get my child evaluated. Some of the symptoms are being inattentive, meaning they're having a hard time paying attention. A lot of the referrals I've gotten over my career, of course, have been from behavior in schools. A lot of times kids who have ADHD, especially if they're doing super well with their academics, will get done with their work really quickly. They'll get bored and then they'll start distracting other students. And so this causes a disruption in class. So the impulsivity, meaning that actions happen out of the blue, an outburst of anger, a tantrum, and it just comes out of the blue sometimes. Or maybe there's a small trigger that we just kind of overlook. So inattentiveness or impulsivity, these are some of the bigger things that we see. Also the fidgeting, can't sit still, has to move. They'll move their heads. They'll always be doing something. So these are some of the things that I want you as a parent to kind of be able to see and say to yourself, does this look like normal kid behavior? Meaning, are they just being a fidgety kid, or are they actually having a hard time paying attention to me? Am I hearing things back from the teacher that says they're not paying attention? They zone off. They can't follow through with a task. These are all little things that I don't want you to overlook. So the kid that I work with for at least 2 years, we work in a team. So who we had, of course, his school counselors. We had his teacher. His parents were 100% on board. And I can't emphasize that enough. Understand this. If you are a parent of a child with attention issues or ADHD, you can't just say, hey, he has a counselor or she has a counselor and we are, we have him on medication and that's it. No, you have to be completely dialed in to the best you can to assisting your child with learning coping skills and helping them stick. A lot of times when we're working with kids in therapy, parents don't realize their importance. Understand this. They're only with the therapist for an hour. They're only at school for a certain amount of time where the actual behavior interventions are being implemented with them. They're with you for the rest of the day, the weekend, wherever. And so when they come home, there has to be some continuity of the interventions that we teach, that you're implying, you're emphasizing over and over and over again. So we give them an intervention that right after they take their bath, they're supposed to read a book and then go to sleep instead of staying up and being on video games. Then it has to be, that plan has to be implemented. Or the work that we're doing while they're in session, while we're and doing in school is in vain. So parents, you are key. We really need you to be at the forefront of this team, which of course is why you're looking at this video, because you have an interest of knowing how you can be at the forefront of your child's collaborative team. So as we work with this young man, I had noticed that he had some age-appropriate tantrums. Sometimes when kids don't get what they want, they do have these breakdowns, and sometimes you have to look past those. But his were so infrequent and sporadic, and the triggers that we saw, which sometimes came out of the blue, we had to put a lot more focus on. He would kick other students. He would hit other students. Very intelligent, finishing his classwork early. And so, of course, he would be a distraction, making funny faces, making sounds, making noises. And so the first step was to work with the school counselor. The school gave him pull-out classes where he could work on some of his grades independently. I would use those sessions, his pull-out classes, as sessions in order to do behavioral health interventions and strategies. And so some of the first ones we worked on were, where do feet go? Where do hands go? When you're done with your classwork, what are some options that you can have? A lot of times you'll be really surprised. I let the children express themselves because a lot of times, people will be surprised. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly why they're getting in trouble. They're very aware. They know exactly what's going on. And we have to be aware of that. We don't give kids enough credit about their self-awareness. Sometimes as adults, we're not as self-aware as kids because kids don't have as many distractions around them as adults do. This young man was very aware. He said, "Mr. Cleve, when I get done with my work, I'm bored. And so when I put my head down, I'm not sleepy, so I'm just trying to have fun." And I understood that. So, we then were able to coordinate with the teacher that she would give him his own reading nook in the back of the room where he could go and read. He enjoyed reading. When he got tired of reading, he would have some activities that he could do, some tactile things he could put his hands on in order to stay occupied in the back of the class. I understand. Let me say this first. This will be very difficult for some teachers who have a room full of kids, but that doesn't stop as a parent or a school counselor that we don't want to at least try these suggestions. And if the suggestions don't work about giving them their own space in the back of the class or whatever, then we have other follow-up steps that we can do. Also, I want to give a special note here. Please, if you have not, tap in, ask your school counselor about an IEP or a 504 plan. If your child does not already have that, I'll be putting up another video to explain to you what an IEP and a 504 plan is for your child and how it can assist your child in accommodating them with their learning needs. All right, so with this child, of course, he started to improve, but literally I worked on foundational skills such as raise your hand, don't blurt out, that's an impulsiveness. When you have a question, and we would go through scenarios. Hey, when will you raise your hand? You'll raise his hand. When would you raise your hand? You raise your hand. Here's when you keep your feet on the ground. Keep your feet on the ground. Here's where you put your hands at. When you want to move your hands, put them in your pockets. And so I would say, where do your hands go? And he would say, pockets. I said, where do your feet go? He would say, floor. How about when you have a question? Hands. And so I love working with children of this age because, it's very straightforward a lot of times. It just takes a lot of reinforcement. So parents, please feel encouraged because we got to reinforce this stuff. You got to reinforce this stuff. And so now, of course, it goes into the interventions that I had to do with his parents. Oh my. His parents were great. He had a dad who was a chef. He had a mom who worked a lot of hours. And so she did the best she could, but I worked with dad the most. There's research that shows how food truly does help with a child with ADHD. The research specifically focuses on sugar intake. So once again, I understand, as I've said in the previous video, that, we have to do quick stuff a lot of times. And that quick stuff is coming out of the freezer section for the kids. It's full of sodium. It's full of sugar. And what I would encourage you to do is look for some of the lower fat frozen food items. They do exist. See if in your area there are some cheaper places that you can shop for produce, which is really important, giving your child some natural sugars versus processed sugars, meaning kids love fruit, so give an apple a day. If you can find somewhere, Aldi's is always great for getting more affordable fruit. If you have it in the access to your city, Finding a farmer's market is really good. If you're in a more rural area, I know this may be a little more challenging, but just kind of finding some more lower sodium, lower sugar alternatives if you have to go the frozen route because of convenience foods. Nothing wrong with that. Parents are out here and they have to do the best that they can do. But this parent was able to change his child's diet. We then began to work with his pediatrician. The parents at first were very hesitant because of his age at trying to implement some medical interventions. But what they did was they talked to the pediatrician. The pediatrician put the child on a low dosage medication. They gave them a half dose. His parents gave him a half dose. His parents gave him a half dose in tandem with a better diet, in tandem with reinforced school interventions, in tandem with at-home re-emphasis other interventions. And let me tell you this, as therapy went on, we saw a great improvement. But here's the X factor, it's age. With maturity, parents, you'll see that sometimes impulse control, as well as other things that are tied to maturity and aging, began to improve because the cognitive patterns, meaning the way that the child thinks, really can improve with age. So all of the things I mentioned in tandem with maturity, we start seeing a brand new young man. So I want to tell you this, and this is God honest. There is no magic pill to assist a child with ADHD. There is no one size fits all to assist a child with ADHD. Some children will need this entire collaborative approach. But what I can tell you is it's better to have a collaborative approach, no matter what the severity of the child's attention disorder is. So I want to encourage you parents out there. I want to encourage you teachers and school counselors who are seeing my video to consider taking a collaborative approach. Don't get frustrated. Please stick at it. You know, we have to do what we can do to support our children during their formative years, because this is so important to them being successful as adults. As you all know, when these interventions are not implemented, adults with ADHD really suffer from productivity issues, from impulsiveness issues that have even greater consequences. So we want to be able to give the building blocks for success while they are young. So this is my story of many that I will share on my page about a success story with ADHD. Parents, be encouraged. Let's get the help and assistance that we need for children. Please subscribe below and leave your comments. As I read comments, I will be responding to comments. Now, also, depending on the comment, do short videos or shorts to assist you with your questions. The whole goal of this channel is to provide you different forms of wellness. This month, we're talking about children with ADHD. We will do a whole bunch of things dealing with the whole entire family, dealing with your personal life, from ADHD to depression to PTSD, as well as we're going to also feature some specific things such as how meditation helps, how yoga helps. But stay tuned, because you know I love soul music, so we're going to do meditation, soul music that is good for sleeping or for meditation. Those videos will be uploaded to the channel very, very, very soon, over the next 30 days. So please stay tuned. This is your real soul ambassador giving you real therapy at Cleveland Robinson. Follow me everywhere at Real Soul Ambassador. I would love to see you. I would love to hear from you. This is me bringing therapy and wellness to you. Peace and God bless.